Hi, third graders. So this is Miss Dodd here. And this week for our reading assignment, we're going to do something a little bit different because I'm going to talk through this book about Mars with you. And I'm going to show you a little bit about your assignment this week. This is an optional assignment, but I encourage you to do it on the days that you are doing independent reading because this is a just right book for you. So, it's called Mysterious Mars. And before we start, just so you know, this book is about Mars. So we're going to look through it, some of the vocabulary. But the assignment that goes along with this book is right here. So this is a chart like what you know, what you want to know, what you learned, and then what you may still have questions about. So before reading, you may want to come here and you see how I double clicked on this little spot. It actually, I can type right on this. So what I want to know or what I know about Mars. So I already know that Mars is the fourth planet in the solar system. um, it's called the red planet. That's something else I know about it. So anything else, I don't want to give away too much, but anything else you know about Mars, uh, you're going to put right there. Then you're going to think about some things that you still want to know about Mars. So I always am curious about like life on other planets. So is there life on Mars, or do scientists think there was life on Mars? Or do how hot is Mars? I don't know, or how cold. I don't know the answers to that. So I'll put that in what I want to know. This section, what I learned, is after you read the book. So again, this section, this section, you can pause the video now and fill those in. So after you do that, then these two sections you do when the video is over, when your reading is over. Okay, so let's go back to our book. So Mysterious Mars, we're going to look at some of the vocabulary. There's actually a lot of vocabulary in this that can be a little bit tricky because oftentimes in nonfiction, the vocabulary is tougher, but the stories are a little easier to understand. So first is a text feature. We have our table of contents. I always look at the table of contents just so that my brain starts to get ready for the reading. And because there's many tricky words in a nonfiction story, it's good to get your brains kind of ready for the topic because then that helps you to figure out trickier words. We have the introduction, gazing from afar, taking a closer look, looking for answers, and then a glossary. So that's what we're gonna read in this book. So here's a little introduction. I started to highlight some words. I also wanted to highlight this word. So if you look, this first word right here is ancient. If anyone knows what ancient means, it's long ago. And then here's solar system, another word that you may be familiar with because planet Earth is part of a solar system, or our solar system. Okay, so now here's ancient again. So ancient astronomers. Does anyone know what an astronomer is? If you do, that's great. But if you don't, I'm just going to take you to the final page in this book because it's defined for us in this glossary, which is another nonfiction text feature. So, scientists who study stars, planets, comets, and other things found in space. So, that's what an astronomer is. So then we'll just go on back because I have a few words I want to look at before we get into reading. The other thing is telescopes right here. Now, this word, I just underline that word down there because we talk sometimes about chunking words to be able to figure out what they are. So, this word actually has two small words in it that you probably have seen and know before. So, when I look at this word, I'm going to cut it right there so that I know this word is water and this word is ways. So I can put those two words together to make waterways. It is a compound word. They're talking a little bit about waterways, I'm assuming on planet Mars. And one of the types of waterways are channels. And then there's also canals. Both of those things are on Mars, I'm thinking. The next word you might notice is right here, which I didn't underline, but I wrote big over here because this is another word that you can try to break apart and see smaller parts of it that can then help you to figure it out. So if I were to break this word up, I do know it, so it helps me when I break it up, but I see this first part right here. So I might put a line there. And then the next part, so in, then I see tell. That I right there could be an I or an I, or even like a lazy sound, so I don't even really know yet. But I would look, and then G actually says J before E. So intelligent, intelligent. So that would be that word. And then let's go to our next page and see what other words we can look at. I also, while I'm going through and just doing more of like a vocabulary walk, I also look at the headings of each section. So taking a closer look, just to also cue me in on what I'm about to look at. So I see NASA right here, and then there's two words in NASA that are a little tricky. So this is aeronautics and administration. So that's actually what NASA stands for, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. On this page, we have volcanoes. So that's interesting. Again, my brain, just in looking at these tricky words, I'm starting to think like, oh, there's volcanoes on Mars. So that'll help me as I'm reading. So this word is kilometers. And in math recently, you actually learned about how measurement can be in customary and metric system. So kilometers is the metric system for how we talk about miles in this country. There's other places that use kilometers, and we know both systems here. This word comes up a lot, atmosphere. So talking about the atmosphere on Mars. And I think, oh, and this right here is another good one. So that word is a tough one, evaporates. So water freezes or evaporates. So the rest of this, there are definitely some more words to just look out for as you read through, and the glossary at the end to help you a little bit. But this has a lot of interesting facts about the country Mars, and some good vocabulary for us to work through and look at. After you're finished reading it, you'll go back to the other page and you can fill in what you learned, some of the facts you learned. And maybe you still have a question or two about Mars that the book didn't answer for you. And you can fill that in down here. Alrighty, so that is your assignment for the week.